You're listening to another episode of the Young Investors Podcast, so sit back and relax as myself, Brandon, and my buddy Hamish discuss the latest in the world of finance and stock market investing. Now, a quick reminder before we get into the podcast is that nothing in this podcast should be taken on as personal financial advice. If you're ever unsure about your finances or investing and you need some help, make sure you reach out to a qualified financial advisor. But with all that said, let's get into another episode of the Young Investors Podcast. All right, welcome back, everybody. Jeez, third time lucky.
We had some spectators watching through the window.
We just noticed there's a door back here behind me somewhere, and that was open, and there was just some people peering in.
Just the corner of my eye, I could just see like two people looking through a window. That's just not
a little piece of Young Investors Podcast early.
Yeah.
No, you have to wait.
You have to wait till.
Everybody, that's like Warren Buffett. Everybody gets the same information at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know if we can quite call this information, but
news, entertainment, riffing. Something along those lines.
Well, it's definitely going to be that today because we're kind of, we've been so busy. We'll basically just talk about what we've been up to. But I think where we left off last podcast is we were just wrapping things up to go to Matt Peterson's barbecue.
Yeah.
Tom, we had time, right? We had time.
Well, yeah. If anyone listened to the episode, you would have hear me say we've got plenty of time, and we turn up 40 minutes late, I think.
At least.
At least.
Yeah. We got that quite. How did we get that so wrong? It was I think the Uber wasn't, like, we couldn't get an Uber, right? I think that was the problem.
Yeah, blame Uber. There's not a lot of Ubers in Omaha. Like, we were waiting 15 minutes to half an hour for a lot of them.
Yeah.
And then we were worried that when we went to the actual Berkshire meeting, a couple of days later, that we were going to really struggle to get an Uber at 4 a.m.
Yeah. And then and then it was fine.
Yeah.
Super weird. But yeah, so we went to Matt Peterson's barbecue. Geez, that's where it all began. We met some really cool characters there. We met a lot of content creators as well. I can't remember what their channels are called. But there was a lot of people. Was there anybody that interesting that you guys spoke to at the barbecue? Digby, the furniture salesman.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah.
Digby was a legend. Yeah,
Digby was fantastic.
Yeah.
There was just some really interesting stories. What was that guy's story about? Xi Jinping staying at his parents' house or something, like his house when he was a kid. Or there was just so many like strange, unique stories that people had.
I think that guy's name was Gary. Maybe
I can't remember what his name was.
Anyway,
to be honest,
this guy that was there, he or his family hosted the Chinese current president, Xi Jinping, on his first trip to America, whenever that was. Like, I think he said
in the 80s, before he was famous.
Yeah, before anybody kind of knew who he was. But it's crazy that he was saying now people like roll past this house, like Chinese people roll past this house just to take photos because it's like it's a historical landmark now or something crazy. But that would have been just insane. But they wouldn't. And I think he was like roughly the same age, like he was a kid. But that's pretty crazy. Like, you just wouldn't have known back then. Yeah. But it's funny how things turn out, I guess.
Yeah, but there were some very cool people at the barbecue. Like, we ran into a few people that watched the channel or watched our channels. You know, a lot of like successful business people, you know, obviously other investors, like a bunch of Guy Spears' Aquamarine team was there. Apparently Lilu's analyst was there from Himalaya.
Oh, right. Okay.
Obviously Matt running the show, cooking up some American barbecue for us. We're getting smoked out by all that good meat cooking up, you know.
Yeah, we were worried about being underdressed. I guess we were really underdressed anyway, but it wasn't as atrocious as it could have been. Like, some people were dressed up a little bit, but it wasn't really fancy.
We were just like most people. There were some people less dressed up than us, some people more. We were in the middle, so we're fine.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it.
So that was the barbecue. Then what did we do after the barbecue? A lot of people went out after that. We did not. We went back.
No.
And then was it the next day, the meeting? No.
The next day was the Thursday, I think.
Yes, that was the Thursday. And then what did we do
on Friday?
Friday.
I had my fancy dinner on the Friday.
Oh, yeah. So we had the meet and greet.
Of course,
with Guy Spear and
that's right.
And William Green. So,
we went to Starbucks in the morning.
That's right.
That was our first stop.
Yep.
And then apparently that's when we learnt that apparently Hamish is not a name that is
they did their best.
Widespread in the United States. Yeah. What do they call you?
What do they call Hames? I think was what was written on the cup. But to be fair, I get that in Australia as well.
Really?
Even when I go to Starbucks in Australia, maybe they can't hear over
Nice.
the thing. I don't know. I usually use a different name. I usually go with like James or something like that. Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
I get to pick and choose, so it's fun.
Maybe let us know in the comments. Is Hamish a name from where you guys are from?
Is it a real thing? Or is he full of shit?
Maybe he is. Who knows? So that was good. Got our Starbucks, went across to the Guy Spear meet and greet, where we did not meet or greet Guy Spear. Well, we didn't. Tom did.
Yeah.
But I think Guy, he loves you, man. You've got such a good in with Guy.
Yeah, he hit me with the awkward high five handshake, mix type thing. Yeah, but it was good to meet him in person. We had a good chat to William Green though.
That's true. William Green, the author of Richer, Wiser, Happier. We did. Shout out to William. He was a really nice guy. We spoke to him about lots of stuff. We spoke to him about YouTube for a fair while, which was really interesting. But yeah, he's certainly got some stories, and I definitely recommend Richer, Wiser, Happier if you haven't read it. It's just like a collection. How would you describe it? It's like a collection of teachings and stories of William talking to great investors.
Yeah, it's kind of like a highlight reel of William Green's 20 years as a journalist in the investing world. It's definitely value investing focused.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a chapter per investor or, investment team or whatever. It's really good.
Yeah, it is. There's different lessons in each kind of chapter as well. You have Monish's cloning, and then habits, but not trying to be a perfectionist, just trying to do a little bit better every single day, that kind of thing.
The power of doing nothing and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of get these little nuggets from each, and then they have their dramatically different, well, some of them had dramatically different investment styles, but more, I guess, the principles and the way to thinking outside the box, I think, is kind of the key takeaway from that book. So
Yeah.
And that went for a long time, that meeting. We got there. What time did it start? We were there until 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, it was 4 hours, I think, or something.
Jeez.
So
yeah.
That was a big day. And then we wanted to go and roll onto the Berkshire kind of expo, but we didn't. We came back because you had to. Oh, we went to, what was that place called? TC Penny.
We had to go to JC Penny so I could get a cheap suit jacket for my dinner.
Hey,
which was a good decision in the end because I would have been very underdressed without that. So I'm glad we made that call.
Oh boy.
But that was good fun. So that was the Aquamarine Fun dinner.
how'd it go?
It was cool. It was there was probably 25, 30 people there, something like that.
Right.
Mostly investors in Guy Spear's fund, and a few kind of other people that he knows that were in town. Again, just a bunch of successful business people that are kind of giving Guy Spear some money to invest on their behalf. So, that was a very cool night. And Lee Lu actually turned up at the dinner, but I was pretty convinced it wasn't Lee Lu.
Right.
So he only kind of came at the end for 15 minutes maybe. And there was just no one talking to him, and no one, no one recognized him or what it was. One guy eventually went and talked to him. And I was pretty convinced it wasn't Lee Lu, but apparently it was.
Oh.
And by the time I'd made that connection, he'd left.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, never fear, because the next day came around, and that was the actual meeting itself. And we did get to meet a lot of these investors, but we'll save that for a little bit, because it started with us waking up very, very early.
Yeah.
Waiting in line for a very long time.
Yeah. Waking up to rain, by the way.
Yeah.
Went to bed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start at the start. So we woke up what time? 3?
3
in the morning?
I think we booked an Uber at 3:30.
Yeah, so we must have been up at 3 then, yeah. Okay.
And it was pitch black, obviously, and it was just bucketing rain. It was just miserable. It was freezing. It was raining. But nevertheless, we got to this health center. We ran across into the line in the rain, and we lined up, and we weren't the first ones there by any stretch. Was maybe in the line was standing in maybe 10, 15 people ahead of us.
Yeah, but there were several gates around the, what is it, CHI Health Center.
Yeah.
And multiple doors at each gate, and we were third or fourth in line in one of those kind of lines.
So we were right up the front in the line that we were in. I think I was super worried that it was first going to be bucketing rain, which the rain actually did stop. But then secondly, we were actually undercover, which was kind of, because we were right at the front. I was worried there was going to already be a lot of people there, and we'd just be standing there for 3 hours in the rain.
Because doors didn't open until 7, right? And we were there at 4.
Yeah.
That would have been pretty miserable if no cover and fully raining.
But anyway, so we lined up. And luckily it did stop raining. And we were just lining up with Brett Kelly.
Yeah. How's that?
So, if anyone doesn't know Brett Kelly, he's CEO of Kelly Partners, KPG on the ASX, if you ever want to look into that company. But
what a guy.
He's a legend.
He's a great guy.
He's absolute top bloke, MF and legend.
Yeah.
That's how I describe him.
Yeah, he fully, we were just talking business of all sorts, really.
We were just getting schooled.
We all got MBAs in 3 hours.
Yeah, we
Brett.
Signed up for the business masterclass by Brett Kelly, and we just so Brett, business, eh? It was oh, mate.
Half an hour later.
Exactly. But it was great. Just talking to him, the knowledge that he's got is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was unreal.
The guy's a machine.
Yeah, he makes you feel motivated just from talk. He's the kind of guy he talks to you for a little bit and you're like, damn it, I'm going to hire 10 people right now. And it just gets you motivated to work harder.
Yeah.
It just seems like he just go.
Yeah.
So
I was like, I have to change the entire foundation and structure of my business now.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I do that. He's like, nah, don't do that.
No, mate. There's a better way. Let me tell you about it.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that's big on what's that saying? Your network is your net worth.
Yes.
And he showed us his contacts in his phone. How many contacts? It was
10,000.
He had 10,000 contacts on his iPhone.
I think I've got 10. So I've got a lot. I've got a lot.
I just use Messenger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Brett. That was an awesome chance to have an in-depth chat with you. And what was his? It was the CFO.
Kenneth. He's the CFO of Kelly Partners. I think.
Right. Okay. Yep. So they were the dynamic duo that we hung out with in the line, and then in we go. And then, how did you guys find the scramble to get in?
Yeah. So it was open. So it was open the door. Empty your pockets like you're in an airport, go through a little security scanner thing, which we got through reasonably quickly, right? We were a bit worried we might be in a different line with international vaccine checks.
Thought they were going to look at the vaccine certificate and see it's from Australia and just take a long time to, do we need to check this? Or maybe the passports take a little while to get, I don't know. But yeah, it was fine. We ended up getting through pretty quickly, and then we couldn't run. Telling everyone to walk, so everyone's speed walking.
We got that Kath and Kim
everyone's doing
walk going. The speed walk.
Yeah,
it was a bit of a mad rush, but the seats that we got in the end were pretty good, eh?
Yeah, we must have been within the first 50 people sitting down looking for seats.
Yeah,
which is pretty crazy because we didn't really stay up. I mean, I guess we got up at 4, but I really thought that people were going to get up a lot earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking to one guy at the barbecue who was setting his tent up at midnight.
Yeah. What a fool.
Yeah. But it was pretty good. I mean, so yeah, when we got into the Berkshire meeting, and big thunder, and we're here in Austin. Have we mentioned we're here in Austin?
Oh yeah, we're here in Austin, by the way. Here we are. This is Austin. All right, now that's over.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? So there's the stage, Warren and Charlie. There's probably 15 rows of VIP. Yeah. So that was that was full on Bill Gates, Tim Cook, Jamie Dimon.
Yeah, I'm sure there are others as well.
VIPs.
Yeah.
By the way, when I was at this Aquamarine dinner and waiting to get an Uber on the way home, Bill Gates just walked past me going into the Hilton. I kind of looked up from my phone and was like, holy shit, that's Bill Gates.
Bill Gates!
Bill!
So that was a crazy side note. But then once you got past those, 15 rows or something, we were you got into the general plebs crowd, which we were in.
Yeah.
And
early riser plebs.
Yeah, we were 10 rows back or something?
Yeah, not far back. Yeah.
And interestingly, we were 10 rows back, looking directly towards the stage, right at Warren and Charlie. Not that they were there at that time just yet. But, a couple of hours go past and people are filtering in. And Lee Lu filters in. And so we're just trying to get a photo with him. You did get a photo with him at that early moment. And then when the meeting actually starts, we're just sitting down in our seats. And Lee Lu's where I'm on the aisle seat, and Lee Lu is just a meter away, just on the aisle seat on the other side of the aisle.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, he was across and then one row back. But I was doing these little, stretch the back.
Brandon was fangirling the entire time,
and it was right there. It was so cool. He had a right laugh at some of the stuff that came out of Charlie's mouth. He was cackling. That was great. But yeah, so the Berkshire meeting started. What time did it start?
And the thing that we wouldn't have seen before, or the people that watch it online wouldn't have seen before, is we had the movie.
Right.
Because that went for an hour, right, before the meeting. When it first started up, we were like, man, this is legitimately just going to be an hour of ads for Berkshire Investments.
That's what it felt like. They were just playing ads from various Berkshire-owned properties, but...
It got better, though.
It did. Some of the ads were quite funny. And then they cut to clips of Warren and Charlie through the years.
And they had their kind of bits as well. Like Warren and Charlie had, like they did some jokes.
That's true.
That was very good. But
that was very funny.
Yeah, it was interesting because did you even know they did that at all?
I knew there was a movie, but I had no clue what was in it.
Yeah, because it's Warren came up on the screen. He was like, "Please don't record this. This is for you only."
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. So yeah.
Yeah, so there we go. That was the kind of intro, and then Warren and Charlie come out with Greg Abel and Ajit Jain, and they just get immediately standing ovation.
Crowd goes wild.
Yeah, it was honestly crazy. The stadium was packed, and as soon as the stage lit up and there's Warren and Charlie, everybody just hopped up onto their feet and was just giving them the biggest round of applause, which made me feel really good. I hope it made them feel really good as well, but I think it's thoroughly deserved. But then after all that, the meeting actually began and everyone fell asleep. But no, it was, I don't know how you guys, I found the second half of the meeting more entertaining than the first. The first half of the meeting, yes, there were very Berkshire specific questions, which is like, okay, I'm a shareholder, but I'm not really a shareholder. So a lot of that stuff. And it was also the fact that like Warren and Charlie were taking a long time to answer each question. I think we were like an hour and a half in or something, maybe an hour in. And I remember you leant over to me and you're like, I think this is still question 2. It's pretty insane.
I think Charlie was sharp.
He was sharp as.
But Warren's getting a little long-winded.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude's 91 and he sat up there for like 6 hours.
I mean, it's understandable.
Pretty intense, but
he's kind of gotten like that, I think, progressively over time. If you go back and watch some of the old interviews, he's very, very snappy and they're kind of punching through questions.
Yeah,
I think there's like benefits to both. It's kind of nice to hear him give his full thoughts on certain things, but
that's true.
It's also like if it's a question that's already been asked like a couple of years ago, then we kind of want him to move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Into something else. Like there was a question on Bitcoin and we all knew what the answer was going to be. Nothing has changed. We know nothing's changed on both of their opinions. They could have just both given a nice Charlie Munger, shut up answer. Yeah. But I think Warren spoke for like 10 plus minutes or something. It's just that kind of thing. I would have liked them just to move on and answer something that they haven't answered before.
It was a good answer, but it's like the answer that we all knew. He's said it before. It's like, productive assets, non-productive assets.
Yeah.
No Bitcoin, no gold because it's not productive. I'd rather own farmland and blah, blah, blah. And this is why. So, yeah.
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 But I mean, this is their moment, I guess. They got 6 hours. They can just, it's like...
It's their show.
It's their show. Go for it,
Yeah.
Maybe all that peanut brittle got them fired up.
Yeah, true. They were munching away on...
As were we.
We were. We had... thank you. I don't know who got... Did you get that?
I don't know.
Either one of you?
I think I got it.
You got it? Well, thank you very much for that because it's very tasty.
Yeah.
If you... I don't know where they sell peanut brittle or where C's is, but yeah, if you're international...
California, I think.
California. If you're international and you go to the States and you like Berkshire... You got to get some peanut brittle. Absolutely.
It was good.
10 out of 10. Would buy again.
Yeah.
All right. Should we do some like key takeaways from the meeting? I think my favorite part was, I mean, of course, there was a lot of discussion around some of the investments that Berkshire had made. So maybe we can talk about that in a second. But I think probably the most relevant discussion was around inflation. There was a question about... Well, it was kind of a funny question from the girl. What did she ask? She was, it started off about something about inflation. And
it was like, what stock should I buy? Wasn't it?
Yeah. It started off like, inflation is this, interest rates are this. It looks like it's going to be a macro related question. And then she goes, so what's one stock you would buy if you could only buy one stock?
That was pretty funny.
So that was pretty funny. But then the answer I think was quite relevant, which was, he was talking to her specifically as an individual, but really it's a good way of, the answer was talking about how you can protect yourself against inflation. And his answer was to be exceptional at something. And I think the same thing applies certainly to businesses in that the businesses that have pricing power, they're able to actually raise prices without investing additional capital. So they have something unique that people really demand. Those are the businesses that are going to be shielded at least somewhat through a high inflation period, which is what we're experiencing now. Whereas other businesses are not going to be able to raise their prices. Their costs are going to go up at a faster rate, then their revenue will go up. And that's kind of, I think that was probably a pretty relevant lesson for investors as well as just individuals as well.
Yeah, he said it in the context of individuals, but he you can read his annual shareholder letters from like the late 1970s and it says the same thing, best way to protect yourself against inflation is buy businesses that are just exceptionally good at doing what they're doing. They've got some sort of competitive advantage that, if inflation goes up, then raise your prices, pass it on to the customer and your sales won't drop off. I mean, a lot of businesses without moats, they would just have a complete drop off of revenue because people would be like, nah, just save my dollars instead. But you want to find those businesses that are able to, they have the pricing power. They are able to raise prices without consequences, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right. What else? What other takeaways do we have? So we had the big purchases. There was
Buffett's buys.
I think there was a lot. There was maybe 8 or 9 different. So a little bit of Apple. I spoke about a number of these in my video, but I actually missed a couple of them. Apparently he invested in some German companies. Apparently he mentioned that during the meeting, but I missed that. I'll have to go back and kind of have a look. Occidental Petroleum was a massive one. They invested they own now 14% of the company, and actually they bought more recently, right? Did you say?
They bought another, I'd have to check the numbers, but it was in the hundreds of millions just on Monday straight after the meeting.
Yeah. Wow. So, they're going heavy into Occidentals. Chevron as well. I can't remember exactly.
Chevron was the biggest. But
sorry, that's right. Chevron was the biggest in dollar terms. Yeah.
But they didn't talk about that in the meeting. That was in their
quarterly
filing. Yep.
So in the quarterly filing, I think they only disclosed the 4 biggest positions. Is that what it is? So because Chevron became such a big position, and we have the 13F from the previous quarter, we could have compared the size of the position. The position went up by like $20 billion, and then you take into account the stock price movement, and you can get to an approximate of how much they added to it. So there was that. So a lot of oil, a lot of energy companies.
Yep.
Allegheny, which we already knew about, so they kind of clarified that. Although I don't think the purchase has gone through yet, so the cash hasn't kind of come out. It's a pretty
interesting story though, how Buffett's just like, the new CEO of Allegheny sent me his first annual report as CEO. And he said, I'd like you to read it. So Buffett was like, yeah, I'll read it. Why not? Anyway, read it, was impressed, flew over to New York, had a meeting with the guy, put an offer forward, and now Berkshire's buying Allegheny.
Yeah. And what did he say? He said he had 4 filing cabinets full of
4 files.
Oh, 4 files. Yeah. Okay, 4 files on it. But still, that's it's pretty funny that he just has
been studying it for 60 years or something.
60 years. So when he was 31 or something, he started.
He had a little moment of, I know what I'm talking about. Because he's like, I know the business pretty well. I was like, no doubt, if you've been following it for that long. But I think that was about it.
Yeah, what
do
we have?
Activision?
So HP was a little one. Activision was 4 or 5 billion, but interesting. That was kind of a special situation.
Yeah.
So what's the name of what he called that?
Workouts.
Workout. Yeah. I think people call them risky arbitrage as well.
Yeah. Well, people just I think people just call them arbitrage, or just like arb opportunities, but it's not really.
It's not real. It's not a pure arbitrage.
Arbitrage is like you can't lose, kind of thing. Whereas this one you still can lose, but he's essentially betting that that this this acquisition from Microsoft is going to go through at 95 per share.
Yeah, and
there was a big enough spread between the share price and the acquisition price that he said, you know what? Let's give it a crack.
Yeah.
Which, interesting. So he's obviously very confident that this is not going to be blocked or stopped in any way.
Yeah, and this is sort of just my theory, but I mean, Ted and Todd were already buying Activision for Berkshire before the deal was announced, and Activision was down a bit, kind of pre-announcement, shot back up post-announcement, and Buffett did this sort of workout. Arbitrage situation, whatever you want to call it. He was buying the shares at prices at which Ted and Todd were buying it last year. So I don't know. I think
it's not like it's hugely risky.
I think if the deal fell over, there'd obviously be some short-term pain. Yeah. But it seems like the type of business someone at Berkshire wants to own anyway. So That's my 2 cents, but I don't think he'd be overly fussed if it didn't go through, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised the stock hasn't gone up since that announcement, because it's like kind of a
Buffett effect.
Where's
the Buffett effect?
It's kind of a nice, clean thing that you could clone. I would imagine, not that I'm going to do it or anything, but it's kind of it's a special situation, I guess, that people might want to participate in.
Yeah.
But it hasn't. I'm pretty sure it's still at the price he bought it at, or approximately there.
Right.
I think there's a 20 or a 15% like spread between the price right now and the acquisition price. So Buffett obviously has run the probability on, or his estimate of probability on that specific corporate event occurring.
Yep.
And we'll see what happens. But what did he say? They have the cash. So it's just a matter of the FTC approving it, and then what he said something about what EU does with it. So I guess it's just regulatory is kind of the risk in relation to that. Not that it would fall through because they don't have the money or anything like that.
Yeah.
Was there any other thing that you got out of the meeting?
I mean, Munger had a few comments on China. I don't know that he told us a huge amount we didn't already know, but he more or less said kind of what he said at the Daily Journal annual meeting a few months back, that, you know, he can buy, in his view, you know, better companies at lower prices in China than what he can buy in the US. So he was willing to accept a little political risk, essentially.
Yeah, and then you did a little bit of just very brief kind of research just to see, right? And you found, like, what did you find? Like the multiples were shorter.
More thunder coming through.
Thunder and lightning. We've got a thunderstorm coming our way, but that's all right. Hopefully, it doesn't get picked up on the mics. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, I'm prepping for a video on this topic, so I did a little bit of. That's very high level. Obviously, there's huge variation company to company, but I kind of wanted to see, like, you know, what's the average basic like PE multiple on a US company versus a Chinese company. What's the return on invested capital, and using those two numbers as kind of a proxy for cheapness and a proxy for business quality. It's very like Joel Greenblatt magic formula. If anyone's ever looked at that, they basically rank all stocks on cheapness using a earnings yield or kind of an inverted PE and return on invested capital. So basically did that for China versus the US, and these numbers are probably slightly off, but you'll get the idea, hopefully. Earnings yield in the US was something like 4% versus like 7% in China. Return on invested capital was like 9% versus like 13% in China.
Right.
And then GDP growth, I think real GDP growth, that was a big one.
That was a big one. So we just got thunder and lightning just cracking around us. Hopefully it's not ruining the audio too much, but we'll keep carrying on. We'll push through.
Yeah, and then I guess finally, like, general growth of the economy moving forward is something like 2.5% real in the US versus like 4 or 5% real GDP growth is kind of what's projected moving forward in China.
They're doing better. Chinese companies.
Yeah.
There you go.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I still just, I don't know. I need to find a company I'm really comfortable with.
Yeah, fair
And
enough.
I guess maybe with the auditing change where US can audit Chinese companies now, that maybe gives a little bit more of a reassurance that the books are solid. Because I think that's probably the most fundamental thing is, can I trust the numbers in the annual report? And even for American companies, every now and then there's fraud that occurs, of course.
I think that's just human nature sometimes. Some humans are just bad eggs.
Yeah, but it happens to a lesser extent in the US. So if we can reduce that kind of risk of, I can trust these numbers, I think that'll give people a lot more confidence.
Yeah, and I think it's probably more challenging for non-Chinese people to get certain businesses in your circle of competence. Like if you're investing in some sort of consumer products brand that you don't consume yourself, that makes it challenging.
That is a good point. That makes things very difficult. It definitely makes the research process a lot longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. I think pretty much lock it in that Charlie Munger was tax loss harvesting. Matt Peterson definitely thinks so.
Yeah, we just got off the back of recording a podcast with Matt Peterson this morning, and he thought it was obvious.
Yeah.
Well, he's like, why is everyone worried about all these other situations?
The reason why is because he bought 300,000 shares.
Yep.
Okay. In the last quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just sold the same number of shares that he bought across Q1 last year and Q3.
Yep.
So he's bought 300,000, which happened to be just over 300,000. So it's like, it's like, to me, that says he wants to own 300,000 shares. That's what he wants his position to be.
Yeah.
But he's just and it's so obvious because the amount of shares that he sold is the exact number of shares he bought across those first 2 quarters.
Yeah. So I guess rather than doing the traditional tax loss harvesting where you'd sell the initial 300,000, wait a month and buy it back, Matt was under the impression that that was a big one.
That was a big one.
Matt was under the impression that Charlie didn't want to have that 1 month wait period just in case there was, it suddenly bounced. Yeah. So he actually bought another 300,000, took out some margin in the meantime to kind of fund it. And then once, I don't know whether it was rolling into the new financial year or waiting 12 months, I don't know the details, but whatever it was, he then kind of ditched the original 302,000 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Case closed.
Lock it in.
I think for all intents and purposes,
beyond a reasonable doubt.
Beyond reasonable doubt, yeah, I think so.
On the balance of probability.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll go with that.
According to someone familiar with the matter.
Hamish has been watching like the Johnny Depp trial for like 5 days straight. You're loving it.
I don't know what it is, but I actually really enjoy watching just raw case. I know I actually haven't really been that into the Depp one, but there's been other cases where it's not celebrities, and I don't know, I find them really interesting. I find it less interesting that celebrities are related to this one because people are kind of making a spectacle out of it rather than it just being about the facts. And
some people watch football, some people watch the courts.
Yeah.
And I guess you're one of those people.
I could dream. Maybe in another life I could.
Maybe one day I'll be in there.
Hopefully not on trial.
Hopefully not, yeah. Jury duty. You're the one of the people that opens jury duty and goes, "Oh yeah,
How do you plead?
Duty.
How do you plead? I love this bit.
Yeah.
Not guilty.
Yeah, guilty, guilty. So you can go home now. You're not needed. But he's guilty. All right. Is that enough on the Berkshire meeting?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. What do we do after that? We didn't do anything the day, did we?
No, we just started working.
Got this sick hat.
You did get a sick NetJets hat.
Yeah, I was hoping to get a Berkshire hat, but they were sold out. I waited too long, so got a NetJets hat.
Yeah, so when you hopped off the plane, you said, "Mate, I haven't got a hat," and the pilot gave you
got
his.
off my private jet.
The pilot was like, wish. "Oh, mate, you're going to need this."
Yeah.
There's your NetJets hat.
Exactly.
We wish.
Yeah.
No, very cool. Yeah, we walked around the expo a little bit, and then we pretty much just worked for a few days.
Yeah,
which was we won't tell you about that because, well, you can see it on YouTube, and it was also pretty boring because the rest of the days were like maybe 5 degrees and just raining.
Yeah. We kind of just sat inside for a couple of days.
Now it's starting to rain just as we speak.
It's following us.
It is following us.
Yeah.
What is that saying? That you take the weather with you?
Yeah.
But anyway, it was cold, miserable, raining, internet was slow. It's just not a great time. But anyway.
When we first got to Omaha, it was like 27 degrees. It was like, mate, we're in the tropics or something.
Yeah.
And then it just
crazy.
went straight down the gurgler after that.
No, yeah. Righto. And then, so here, what is it, 30 something, 32, 35?
Yeah, well, we made our way over how many days we've been here now? Maybe this is our 4th day, maybe, or 3rd day.
Yeah. Something like that.
Austin is sick.
Austin is fantastic.
It's great.
The weather is so much better apart from right now when we're trying to record a podcast.
Yeah.
But we rolled in, walked off that plane. Whew, you could feel it. That heat just washes over you. And we're coming from Omaha, so we're in like big jumpers and long pants and we're all rugged up. And we just get off that plane like, whoo, this is where it's at.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been here. What do we get up to, man? I can't even remember 5 minutes ago.
Well, I don't know about chronological order, but we went to Texas Roadhouse
yesterday.
We
went to Texas Roadhouse.
Which was great.
Boy, oh boy.
Roadhouse
Wait, how much more? Okay, we got about 30 minutes that we can talk about Texas Roadhouse. Okay, great.
All right, shut up, guys.
Yeah, okay, well, here we go.
Did you notice they didn't have Netflix at Texas Roadhouse?
No, I didn't.
Oh, there goes another hour.
But let me tell you,
2 hours later.
Yeah, so that was last night's dinner.
Yeah.
So we should we start with the pew pew?
Oh yeah, so we went and we went to the range.
We went to the
called
range.
the range.
We shot some targets.
We experienced freedom, as we were told.
Yeah, we were told by the like, oh, we're from Australia and New Zealand. He's like, oh, you're gonna get your taste of freedom here today. I was like, oh, legend. If only you realised that we've got probably more freedom in Australia. But anyway.
We won't go there.
We won't go there. That's a political podcast. We'll leave that for another day.
You keep your opinion to yourself, Brandon.
I shall.
You don't speak for the Young Investors podcast.
No, I do not. I'm speaking on as Brandon Vanderkolk right now. That's what Warren says. I'm speaking now as Warren, not as CEO of Berkshire.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun though. I didn't really know what to expect. I think I've never shot a gun or anything before.
It was cool.
I played COD. A little bit more kick.
a
little bit more kick than the
controller, than the dual
controller.
shocks.
Yeah, surprisingly, you know.
Yeah.
But
so I shot the Glock
and an
17.
M15. Yep.
And what is it?
M15.
AR-15.
AR-15. AK-47. No, not one of those.
No.
AR-15. It's amazing because, like, if you're American, you're gonna be like, oh, of course, duh. But I've never shot a gun. I've never even been close to someone that's shot a gun. So just standing in that range, and before we'd even shot anything, hearing the guy with his rifle just like, poof, poof,
Yeah, he had a big one.
you can really feel it. Like, you can hear it. It's obviously loud even with the hearing protection on, but you can feel the boom. It's kind of crazy. It really gave me an understanding of like just how powerful these things are. Like, don't go near them. Like, if someone's running at you with one of those, run the other direction. Get out of there. But holy smokes, how'd you guys find firing the guns down
fun,
the range?
I reckon.
Yeah, Tom went a bit ham at one point.
Yeah, well, the dude's like in the safety briefing is like, okay, guys, you're pretty short on time, but rapid fire is allowed.
Yeah, you did go ham on that. What was it? AR. That was crazy. And there's a great video of you. Maybe we'll find it somewhere.
I don't think we could put that in there.
No, probably not. Best not. We might get demonetized. But anyway, the start of the video is Tom's just like, pew, pew, pew. And then the end of the video is just like, meh. Oh gosh, that was hilarious.
That was great.
Looks good on camera too.
Yeah.
Nah, we better not show it.
And the guy in the next bay at the range is like coming over for a look. What's going on?
"Hey,
And the guy at the range is like, these guys from Australia.
I like what he's up to.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. And yeah, the handgun's got a lot of kick to it. Very hard to control, but that was good fun. And then so we just did the most Texan thing ever. Just rolled straight out of the range, straight on down the highway to the Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And in we went.
And
gents?
hang on, before we get to like the food review or something at Texas Roadhouse, it's apparently owned by Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
I don't know that any of the three of us are major Willie Nelson fans.
No.
But if we've got any older viewers on the podcast, they may be. And I'm like 80% sure that Willie Nelson walked out of the restaurant and came straight past us when we were
He had the little
waiting.
like plat.
He had the one plat each side. He had a little walking stick. Like,
he was
nicely ironed white shirt. You know, and he was just, he gave you that look and like smiled and sort of gave you the little.
It's like, I'm
nod.
important.
Yeah, like,
you know who I am.
He gave you that look like, you know exactly who I am. And I was like, is it Willie Nelson?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, because I think he owns or is a partner in 3 of them.
Right.
So yeah, that's an interesting story for that particular restaurant. But
at Texas Roadhouse, are they franchises?
No. Well, there's some of them that are, but they're mostly company owned. So, but they have partners that own stock and that like operate a number of them.
So would Willie Nelson be one of those people?
I think so. I think that's how it works.
Because otherwise that's what I was talking about with like the balance sheet. Like, how does it come up? It's like asterisk. These are the ones owned by Willie Nelson.
Yeah, I don't exactly know how it works off the top of my head right now, but
that was pretty crazy. I just didn't know who I was supposed to be looking for. So you're like, I was like, huh? Just some old dude. He's just going to his car. And you're like, I think that's Willie Nelson. I was like, who's that? And I looked him up. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was pleased to see there was a line out the door. We had to wait. We didn't really wait that long.
Honestly,
but it was kind of surprising. So there was quite a lot of people waiting already. Car park full, and we'd seen another Texas Roadhouse a couple of days earlier, and that one was also full. So I'm very
Omaha, right?
Yeah, I'm very happy about that. But we went in and we just said, hey, how long's the wait? And I was honestly expecting them to say like an hour, and they said 15 minutes, and it was about 15 minutes.
15,
so they're
20
really like churning through people in there, which is crazy. But yeah, the atmosphere was great in there. I think probably exceeded my expectation on atmosphere.
Definitely exceeded my expectation. Atmosphere was great. There's a lot of people in there having a great time. There's a lot of food coming through. Dinner rolls. Thoughts on dinner rolls?
Very sweet.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
But I really liked them.
I was talking to my friend Rob, who's from Indiana, and he was saying that in America, just bread products are very sweet.
Yeah.
Like that's just, they're just not savory. They are sweet. So
I can see what the hype's about. Like, you know, they come out nice and warm.
They weren't terrible. Like it wasn't like there's this hype around them and it's like, oh, this sucks. Like,
but it's just a hot cross bun like you get at Easter time.
It does. It
really
does.
was.
Without
basically
fruit,
what
without
it was.
it
fruit
must
in
have had cinnamon in it, right? It had that kind of...
I don't think it was cinnamon. It was
Just
just
sugary?
sweet.
Just
It was
really sugary? Okay.
Yeah, it was just very sugary.
Yeah.
But like totally, my expectation of a dinner roll is like a savory kind of roll, like with butter and stuff. But that's not what these were. These were very kind of, sugary, doughy kind of thing. So I'm sad to say that I didn't quite enjoy the dinner rolls because everyone said, "Oh, you're gonna love the dinner rolls. They're so good." But you guys liked them, so that's the main thing.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I did like. It's the flipping massive steak that we got.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I think we ordered the smallest steak you could get.
Oh my gosh,
And
that
it
was
was
a
massive.
small one?
Yeah, that was a
Yeah,
small
we didn't go for the 20 ounce, thank God. I think, what did we get? 12 ounce or
12?
something, yeah.
There are people that...
The 20 ounce
almost
must be the size
double
of the
that?
table. The size of the plate, I mean.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And you get 2 sides.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good portions. Yeah, pretty simple. Like, the menu was actually quite complex,
But you
but the
then eat
food was...
steak.
Yeah, it's a steakhouse,
Yeah.
so...
It's like as long as you got steak there, then...
The food was good. I think the food was probably in line with my expectations.
Right.
It didn't blow me away. It's kind of what I expected from a steakhouse, casual dining kind of restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, casual dining. If it was like sit-down dinner and there was only like 5 tables for the whole evening, then you'd say, oh, this is kind of underperforming.
For sure.
But the fact that
yeah.
it was like a pub kind of steakhouse.
For the vibe, it fit perfectly.
It's exactly what it needed to be. And really, just even seeing the one was in Omaha and this one here really shows me that this franchise has some sort of advantage. They've got a brand. For sure, they've got a brand.
It's kind of wild because I'd obviously read reviews a lot, and all the reviews, if you look at Texas Roadhouse reviews, it's hilarious. You just search Texas Roadhouse on the US, I almost said Australia, on the US, and just click anywhere in the US, and it'll be 4.5 stars or above. I guarantee you. Every single one. A lot of them are like 4.8, 4.9. I've just never seen anything like that. And a lot of the reviews are, you have to wait because they don't take reservations. So you have to line up.
Yeah.
So you have to wait a little bit, but the line moves quickly, but it was just kind of impressive to see it.
Yeah.
Like it was actually true. Like it was always packed.
Yeah.
Like at least for the 2 we saw.
It gave me like a strong sense that they need to be opening more stores.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
just seeing how many people are interested. It's like that. Every time we flew past Texas Roadhouse, the car park is packed. There are people standing outside. It's just, I don't know. To me, it screams that they're doing something right.
Yeah. And you were showing us some of the like revenue per store numbers, which are just like off the charts.
Yeah, it's actually unbelievable. So you can compare to a couple of different things. You compare to fast food restaurants, which they absolutely crush, but that makes sense because it's a kind of a sit down dinner. But yeah, I think Texas Roadhouse was at 5.8 million per store or something in that range, maybe even in the 6s now with this kind of extra COVID stuff. And you're looking at things like McDonald's, which you would imagine has, massive turnover. They're at what? I think it was 1.9. 1.9 million per store. Most are in the range of like 800,000 to 2 million per store. And then even like full service dining, which is what Texas Roadhouse is, the Cheesecake Factory, Applebee's, and Outback Steakhouse, they're like couple million per store off per year, which is, significant. And they don't open until 4, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, that's the other thing. We went on a Wednesday. It was a Wednesday. And what time did we get? It was like 7:30.
8, yeah.
And it was just chockers.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, they're certainly doing something right. You still invested?
I am still invested.
Right.
Yeah. It's the stock just rocketed back up to, well, this is just my personal opinion, obviously.
Because you bought in March.
Yeah, so I loved it during that time. It was a lot cheaper. I think it was like $25 to $35 a share.
Yep.
Then it rocketed to like 110, which was just insane. It's like a 4x in a year or something. Now it's at like 80. So it's probably, I don't know. I'm not super thrilled about it at this price unless they could really ramp up their store openings, which I think is the big bottleneck at the moment. They're so selective, which is good. Like they're being careful about how they open stores so they don't just dilute the brand. But that's the bottleneck. I think their quarterly results just came out yesterday, and comparable store sales growth was 16% in their restaurants, which is just astronomical. And that's
how are they achieving that?
Well, they did some menu price increases, but it's mostly traffic, which is kind of mind blowing because people have been saying that it's packed for so long. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're managing to do it. It's insane. They did a 3.5% price increase, and they're doing another 3.5% price increase in April, which will be in the next quarter. So they're pushing prices, and that's just because even though their top line growth was like 23%, I think their net income grew by like 16 to 18%, and that's just the inflation has just been off the charts. I think cost inflation for their food and labor has been 12 to 14%, and they're just continuing to expect that. So if you want like a on the boots on the ground idea of what inflation has been for restaurants, 12 to 14% is, you know.
Yeah, and you'd think like beef would be far greater than
beef.
That. Beef. When they're serving fat
and
steaks as well.
True. And beef was already getting more expensive over time. So that's, you know, been accelerated or exacerbated by the recent inflation. But yeah, that's kind of the nature. Even a business that I think has, at least from what we saw and everything, is doing extremely well at attracting customers. They still can't increase their prices enough to outpace the labor shortages and the food shortages. So that's kind of the situation for even that business. You can imagine what it's like for other restaurant businesses that can't raise prices, can't open new stores, and they're just copping 12% cost, and they don't have good margins. So maybe they lose money on that. It's tough out there, and a lot of businesses are struggling at the moment. So.
Yeah, well, there you go. So that's Texas Roadhouse. That was our experience.
Yeah, I know. We joked about me talking about it for 20 minutes, for like half an hour. We actually did.
It was 18 minutes or whatever.
You need to just tell me to shut up. You need to give me a hand signal, like I don't know, like that's it. I'll like wrap it up or something. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that was last night, and then today
have we skipped our little road trip where we ran into some security? Do we want to tell that story?
Oh, yeah, true. We went to the Texas Tesla Gigafactory. So that's true. We did forget about that. I wanted to go and see it. This is probably like the biggest car plant in the world, I would imagine, by probably some margin. And it is a big building. But we were the Uber driver took us to one entrance, and there was like Tesla employees only, and people like, you have to have a pass beyond this point. So he takes us around the other way, which looks like the more legit way to go. Anyway, we go in there, we start walking through the car park. And anyway, we're walking along this footpath to go like around to the front of the Gigafactory, because we're just there to have a look at it, take some photos, and, you know, we're just walking down this footpath, going to see what it's all about. And this ute just like pulls up next to us, and the guys is like, what are you guys doing? Like, we're just walking down the footpath. They're like, oh no, security's gonna come get you guys. I was like, wait, what?
He's like,
serious?
He's like, see your shorts, big red flag.
Big red flag, wearing shorts.
Because everyone's wearing like high vis and like long pants, because it's a factory. So you have to be in wearing safety stuff.
Turns out we totally weren't supposed to be where we were. But I mean, it looked like it was fine. I mean, we just literally walked through a car park. There's nothing wrong about walking through a car park. Yeah. And then we just walked onto a footpath, which was just next to a road.
Yeah. We were, it was kind of funny because we were up the top, I guess not on the property, just outside the property, taking photos and doing some stuff. And we were there probably for like 10, 15 minutes. And then we were like, oh, let's just, we'll wander down and kind of see if we go around the front. And as soon as we go on the property, like, what was it, one security person on foot, and then a car.
And then a car turns up.
And they just pull up and say, yeah, where's your passes? And we're like, oh, sorry.
Yeah, so the security guy, just the guy in the ute just said, no, you guys turn around. So we did. We just turned around. We're not going to fight anybody. We just turned around and went back to where we were before, where we were taking photos, which is just up on some like lookout area. Yeah. And then, the Tesla security pulls up next to us. It's like, what are you guys doing?
It was kind of amazing how quickly. I wonder if they were just
rapid response, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're probably just watching us. Like, if they take one step on the property,
send the car out.
yeah.
But yeah, that was interesting. But no, we just explained that we didn't know what we were doing, and we're just there to take some photos and make
the accent probably helped a little bit.
We're not from here.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that we weren't from America. Pretty darn clear, I would say. But yeah, no, that was fun. Yeah, we did forget to mention that, but I'm glad you remembered. Good work. So that was our trip to the Gigafactory, and then I guess that was a few days. When was that? Yesterday?
Yeah.
Yesterday morning. That was before we went shooting before we went steak eating. And then today we've just been hanging out with Matt Peterson, really. We went out to his place, which was a very nice place in a very nice suburb. I have no idea where in Austin, but it was very, very nice area. And we just hung out at his place and filmed some stuff. I filmed a video with him that will be going out probably in a week or two, I would imagine. You guys filmed a podcast.
Yep.
Any ideas when that's coming out? Or
probably in a week or two as well. Yeah, that'll be on my podcast channel. And
gee, Matt's just such a nice guy, isn't he?
He's a legend. Yeah.
Absolute legend. 10 out of 10 nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we'd finish this is a guy that's running a fund, he's got investors, he's got work to do, he's a busy guy. We're just making stupid little YouTube videos and podcasts and whatever. We're here on holiday a little bit as well, and he's just like, oh no, it's all right. Hey, well, let's go out for lunch. And I was like, oh really? Like you don't have like work emails, calls, anything? He's like, no, it's fine. We'll go out. So we went out to, where was it? The Domain? Is that what?
No, we went to.
Oh
my goodness, I can't remember the name of it now. It was like something Congress.
Oh yeah, past the Capitol.
Capitol. Yeah,
or whatever it's called.
South Capitol.
I don't know. The Capitol building.
Someone in Austin can clarify what we're trying to say.
The one that looks like
we were at a restaurant building in Austin.
Yeah, and we went
with Matt Peterson.
We went to some nice seafood restaurant, and he bought us lunch, and he told us about this very interesting.
What a guy! Yeah, we got a masterclass in options. How to use options as a kind of,
not options. I've wanted trading. To say options trading, but it's not options trading.
I mean, it's technically options trading.
Like arbitrage
technically,
almost.
what we do is stock trading because you have to place a trade to buy a stock. So
yeah,
but no, it's like what did you say? Stock.
It's sort of like arbitrage to. He's like if you want to see it in more detail, check out the videos and stuff.
Long story short, he's using options to get into positions, and he's using options to get out of positions. More specifically, he's selling options to get in and selling options to get out.
Yeah.
So as well as just owning the stock and getting the benefits, he's also making money by the premiums, by selling the option to someone else. And he was talking about how he's doing this as well to kind of capture a company's dividend, where you can collect premiums by getting in, capture the dividend, collect premiums on the way out, and kind of end up with a free dividend, which kind of is like we've been saying it all week. Free money.
It's just free money. It's like what we were saying. It's like what every new investor thinks they can do. You just buy a stock before the ex-dividend date, get the dividend, and like sell out.
But he's actually doing it with options.
He's actually found a way.
He has found a way. And it does. He breaks it down, and this is all available, right, in his annual.
I think in his
report.
annual report,
the latest annual report.
So Peterson Capital
Management.
Go check it out, and you can learn all about it.
Yeah, dude's a legend. He like runs, same fee structure as the old school Buffett partnerships with no management fees, just performance fees. Small little fund cranking out really good returns.
Good returns. Phenomenal returns.
Yeah.
He's a bright guy.
Very deep research.
He's just quick on the maths too.
Yeah.
He's very sharp.
Yeah, he's super sharp. So Matt, thanks very much for having us out. We really appreciate it, and it was great talking to you, and thanks for lunch as well. But that's pretty much leads us to now. Then we sat down and we started the podcast. And what did we talk about on the podcast? Yeah,
we started off by talking about the Berkshire meeting. It just never ends.
No, but actually, then we got back, and literally we had to delay this podcast because we had to recharge the batteries for the cameras so that we could actually film this podcast after all the filming that we did with Matt. But anyway, guys, that is about an hour's worth of podcast, and that is the recap of our last, 7 days or so.
2 days,
So hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks as always, gents, for joining me, particularly Tom, the guest on the Young Investors podcast.
Happy to be here.
Perpetual guest.
I thought you were going to be asleep. I was like, oh, is Tom going to hang around for this podcast?
Yeah. I reckon we got the pot of coffee going. So
we got the coffee.
We're back.
Tom's in.
That's the one. That's the one. That's the worst part of America so far. It's been a great trip, but the coffee is I'm not a coffee snob.
Yeah,
I will drink most things, but the coffee has been horrific.
Yeah.
But Matt had a fancy espresso machine, so he made us a few little shots and stuff. So.
Kept us going.
Nice.
Yeah.
But now we will sign off, and we probably will fall asleep because we are tired. And we've just been talking so much. It's just been like. You just stay in your brain just in the zone for so long.
And it's not really relaxed talk either. It's kind of
talking about options contracts,
kind of drawing on all of this. It's a lot. Yeah.
It's fried my brain cells. So with that, we'll sign off. Thank you guys very much for listening. We hope you're enjoying the updates coming at you from the United States. We'll be home this time next week, will we? Or we'll still be here. No,
this time next week? No, we'll still be here.
We'll be in
Orlando.
Yeah. So I guess we'll probably talk to you.
There'll be one more.
We'll probably talk to you from Orlando next. So signing off from Austin, Texas, and see you guys in a week.
See you guys.
Yeehaw.
Bye.